She thought I'd always be hers. But Rebirth gave me a choice, and I finally chose someone who truly cares. Chapter 1: The Second Chance. The world blinked, and then it was gone. I opened my eyes and found myself staring at the ceiling of my childhood bedroom. The sunlight streamed through the window, warm and familiar. My heart raced as I realized I had been reborn. I sat up and glanced at the calendar. Everything was exactly as it had been years ago. Before all the heartbreak and mistakes, memories of the previous life flooded back every wrong word, every hesitation, every moment I had let her slip away. Maya, the girl I loved more than anything, the one who had made me feel like I was nothing without her. In my past life, I had been her loyal simp, constantly chasing her, always waiting for her approval. And in the end, she had left me. But now, fate had handed me a second chance. I got out of bed and moved quietly through the house. Everything was exactly how it used to be. And then I saw her, Maya, sitting at the breakfast table, smiling innocently, completely unaware that I remembered everything from the life we had lost. She looked at me, eyes sparkling. "Good morning," she said. "Did you sleep well?" I smiled faintly. "Morning. Yeah, I guess I did." Inside, I felt something strange. Part of me still felt drawn to her, but another part, the part that had learned from the pain of my previous life, was cautious. I remembered how easily she had taken my loyalty for granted, how she had assumed I would always, no matter what. For the first time, I noticed another girl in the background, Lena, our classmate and a bright, kind-hearted girl I had overlooked in my previous life. She waved shyly at me, and for the first time, I noticed her gentle smile, the way her eyes seemed to care without asking for anything in return. I felt a warmth I hadn't felt in years. A thought crossed my mind. Maybe this life didn't have to repeat the past. Maybe I didn't have to be her simp this time. Maya, of course, didn't notice my gaze. She continued to chatter about her plans for the day, completely assuming I would follow her every word like before. But this Jimmy Thingvern, I had a choice. And for the first time, I considered supporting someone who actually appreciated me.
Good morning. Come join me.
Morning. That smells great.
It's your favorite. I made extra.
You're the best.
I wanted to share this with you.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
I'm glad you think so.
Chapter 2: The Unexpected Bond. The next morning felt different. I walked through the school courtyard, watching the familiar faces of classmates, yet everything seemed new, reborn, a second chance. And this time, I wasn't going to repeat the mistakes of my past life. Maya was there, of course. Her long hair swayed as she laughed with her friends, completely unaware of how I had suffered for her in the life we had lost. She looked just as radiant as I remembered, but something in me had changed. The blind loyalty, the desperate need for her approval, it was gone. Then there was Lena. She was sitting under a cherry blossom tree, reading a book. The morning sunlight kissed her hair, and I noticed how her eyes lit up when she smiled quietly to herself. I remembered that in my previous life, I had barely paid her any attention. She had always been kind to me, but I was too blinded by my obsession with Maya to see it. I hesitated for a moment, then approached her. "Hey, Lena," I said. She looked up, startled, then smiled gently. "Hey! Good morning." Her warmth was different from Maya's playful energy. It was comforting, sincere, without any expectation. I felt a small smile tug at my lips. I was wondering. I started, slightly awkward. Would you like to join me for lunch? Lena blinked, clearly surprised, but nodded quickly. I'd love to. As we walked toward the cafeteria, I noticed Maya glancing at me from across the courtyard. Her brow furrowed slightly, though she quickly looked away when I met her eyes. That tiny reaction, confusion, maybe even concern, made me smirk. We sat beneath the cherry blossom trees, the petals drifting lazily in the wind. Lena talked about her favorite books, her dreams, and little things about her life I had never noticed before. I listened, genuinely interested, laughing at her quiet jokes, and for the first time, I realized how natural it felt to connect with someone who appreciated me without demanding me. Meanwhile, Maya's gaze seemed to follow us, though she tried to hide it. I caught the faintest flicker of surprise in her eyes when she saw me smiling at Lena. It was subtle, but enough to remind me that things had changed. For the first time in my life, I felt in control, not of her, of anyone, but of my own choices. I wasn't her simp anymore. I had been given a second chance, and I intended to live it differently. And if Maya thought she could still have me the same way, she was about to learn. I had already made a new decision. Chapter 3: Sparks of Jealousy. The next few days felt strange yet exciting. I had spent my mornings quietly observing Maya, the girl who had once held my entire heart, and my afternoons laughing with Lena under the cherry blossom trees. Every word Lena spoke, every small smile she gave, seemed to pull me further away from the past life's mistakes. I finally understood what it meant to be appreciated, to be seen, not just adored blindly. Maya, of course, had noticed the change. It started subtly, a slightly furrowed brow as she watched me from afar, a faint hesitation in her laughter when I walked by, and then came the first confrontation. "Why are you always with her?" Maya asked one afternoon in the courtyard, her voice laced with surprise and something I couldn't quite place. Was it jealousy? I smiled faintly, calm as ever. "Because she actually listens," I replied casually. Maya blinked. "Ha! She listens, she cares. And she doesn't expect me to grovel for her attention," I explained, letting the words hang in the air. Something I learned the hard way last life. For the first time, Maya looked unsettled. She had always assumed I would chase her, no matter. She had always believed I was her simp, waiting for every word, every smile. But now, I wasn't. I turned away from her, heading toward Lena, who waved at me from under our favorite cherry blossom tree. Maya's voice called after me, sharp but quiet. "Wait, you're choosing her." I didn't turn. I just walked calmly, my hand brushing against Lena's as we sat down together. Lena looked bibbering softly. "You didn't have to do this," she whispered. "I want to," I said simply, glancing at her. "For the first time, I'm choosing someone who actually values me." From the corner of my eye, I saw Maya Fasipali, lips pressed into a tight line. Something had shifted in her. That confident, untouchable girl now seemed unsure. The days passed with the same rhythm study sessions, walks under cherry blossoms, small shared moments of laughter. Each time Maya tried to intervene, I politely declined, always keeping my focus on Lena. Every time I did, I felt a quiet satisfaction. Not vengeance, not malice, just clarity. I was no longer trapped by my past life, no longer a slave to blind loyalty. One evening, as the sun set and painted the school grounds in golden light, Maya approached me again. This time, there was hesitation in her step, uncertainty in her gaze. I didn't realize. She started, voice trembling slightly. I looked at her calmly, then at Lena. The choice was clear. My heart no longer belonged to the past. It belonged to someone who truly cared. And for the first time, I felt
So
free.
beautiful here.
Not as beautiful as you.
You're sweet.
Let's walk together.
Chapter 4. The Jealousy Awakens. Days passed, and the rhythm of my new life began to feel natural. I walked beside Lena through quiet corridors, shared notes during class, and even helped her carry books under the blooming cherry trees. Every moment was easy, gentle, and filled with laughter, a stark contrast to the desperate chase I had experienced with Maya in my past life. But nothing escapes the notice of someone who believes you belong only to them. Maya had started to watch more closely. At first, it was subtle, lingering glances, slight hesitation in her speech, almost imperceptible shifts in posture whenever Lena and I were nearby. But one afternoon, she finally acted. "Why do you always sit with her?" Maya asked, leaning against a classroom wall, her arms crossed tightly. Her voice was low, almost challenging. I looked up from my notebook, meeting her eyes calmly. "Because she treats me like a person, not a project to control," I said plainly. Her brow furrowed, a flicker of disbelief crossing her features. "What do you mean?" I leaned back in my chair, relaxed. "You've always assumed I'd wait for you, obey you, and never choose anyone else. I learned my lesson. I don't belong to anyone, and I certainly don't belong to someone who took me for granted." Maya's mouth opened slightly, then closed again. I could see the frustration growing in her eyes, her usual confidence beginning to crumble. I glanced toward Lena, who was sitting a few desks away, reading a book, but smiling faintly as she noticed me looking. I gave her a small nod, and she responded with a quiet, encouraging smile. Maya's reaction was instantaneous. She stepped closer, voice rising slightly. "So, you're actually choosing her over me?" "Yes," I said simply. My tone left no room for argument. "And I'm not sorry. I'm done being anyone's puppet." The shift in the room was palpable. Even some of our classmates noticed the tension. Maya's lips pressed into a tight line, her eyes darkening with a mixture of shock, disbelief, and finally jealousy. She turned abruptly and walked away, leaving me sitting calmly at my desk. I felt a strange satisfaction, not from hurting her, but from finally asserting my independence. Later, as Lena and I walked beneath the cherry blossoms, the petals falling like soft rain around us, I realized how different this felt from my past life. There was no desperation, no guilt, no endless longing for someone who had never valued me. Instead, there was warmth, connection, and a quiet certainty that I had made the right choice. Maya, of course, continued to watch from a distance. But this time, I didn't care. I had discovered something far more important than her approval. I had discovered my own worth. And that realization made every smile with Lena feel even brighter, every laugh even lighter. This life was mine to live, and I intended to live it fully without letting anyone, not even my Ictate Mart. Chapter 5. Choosing my own path. The spring sun shone brightly over the school courtyard, but the air was tense. Today felt different, as if the world itself was waiting for something to change. Maya approached me first. Her usual confidence was gone, replaced by uncertainty. I don't understand, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Why are you always with her? Don't you still care about me? I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my past life behind my words. I did care, Maya, but I can't keep making the same mistakes. I spent years chasing someone who didn't value me. I won't do it again. Her eyes widened. So, you're choosing her. I nodded calmly, glancing at Lena, who stood a few steps away. Her gentle smile unwavering. Yes, I'm choosing someone who sees me for who I really am, not someone who assumes I'll follow blindly. Maya's hands trembled, and she looked away, trying to hide the flicker of jealousy that now burned in her gaze. For the first time, she realized that I was no longer hers to control. Lena stepped forward, her voice soft but firm. It's okay, Maya. I don't want to hurt you. Bees! Meaning now. The words hung in the air, yet they were not cruel, they were honest. Maya's shoulders slumped slightly, and a silent acknowledgement passed between us. The past was over, and nothing could force me to repeat it. Latech. Beneath the cherry blossom trees, where we had shared so many quiet afternoons, Lena and I sat together. The petals drifted lazily around us, and for the first time, I felt completely free. Free to live without guilt, free to love someone who truly cared for me. Maya watched from a distance that afternoon. Her face was a mixture of sadness, regret, and perhaps a hint of admiration. She had assumed I would always be hers. But now she understood that people change, and second chances are not meant to repeat the same mistakes. I'm glad you're happy, Maya whispered quietly to herself. Before walking away, Lena leaned against me, resting her head on my shoulder. You really mean it? She asked softly. I do, I replied, feeling the warmth of her hand in mine. This time, I choose my own path, and it leads to you. The cherry blossoms swirled around us as the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the world in golden hues. I realized that life had given me more than a second chance, it had given me clarity. I no longer needed to prove my worth to anyone but myself and someone who truly valued me. As we sat there together, I made a silent promise to cherish this life, this love, and the person who finally saw me as more than just a simp. And for the first time in what felt like forever, my heart was at peace. The rebirth had not just given me a second life, it had given me the life I deserved.